Let's talk about coal. It's the simple black rock that literally built the world we live in, the engine behind our lights, our cities, our entire industrial age. But as we all know, that engine comes with a pretty steep cost. Today, we're digging into the whole story, where it comes from, its incredible global power, and the massive crossroads it's facing right now. So, here's the game plan. We're going to start with the basics. What even is this stuff? Then we'll zoom out to see just how huge its role is on the world stage. After that, we'll zoom right in on a single company to see how the business actually works. Then we'll uncover the real costs, the ones that don't always show up on a balance sheet. And finally, we'll look at where coal stands today, right at a major turning point. All right, first things first. Before we get into the whole global engine and its impact, we have to get a handle on what we're even talking about. Because this black rock is so much more than just a rock. It's basically a time capsule packed with ancient energy. So at its heart, coal is a fossil fuel. I like to think of it as a geological battery. It was charged up with solar energy millions and millions of years ago. And when we burn it, we're releasing that ancient sunlight. It's mostly carbon, sure, but all that other stuff you see, the hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen, that's super important. Because it dictates not just how much energy you get, but also what kind of pollution comes with it. And you won't believe how long it takes to make this stuff. We're talking 300 million years ago, back when Earth was covered in these enormous swampy forests. As plants died, they piled up in thick layers of what we call peat. Then, over millions of years, more and more dirt and rock buried it deeper and deeper. And all that heat and pressure basically cooked it, transforming it into the dense, energy-packed coal we dig up today. It's an unbelievably slow process. Okay, so that's how it's made. Now let's fast forward a few 100 million years and see how this ancient rock became the absolute powerhouse of our global economy. And honestly, the scale of it all is just mind-boggling. I mean, think about it. Every time you flip a light switch, there's a good chance coal is involved. Even now, with the huge rise of renewables, coal is still the undisputed king of electricity. In 2023, it generated more than a third of all the power on the entire planet. It's the bedrock, the foundation that our global grid was built on. And this whole global market, it really boils down to just a handful of major players. China is the absolute center of gravity here. They use more than half of all the coal burned in the world. And on the supply side, you've got these massive exporters like Indonesia and Australia digging it up and shipping it out to meet that incredible demand. And the market for this stuff is an absolute roller coaster. Just look at those numbers. The price for 1 metric ton of coal has swung from less than $50 all the way up to over $450. That kind of insane volatility, driven by everything from geopolitics to the weather, makes this a seriously high-stakes game. So how on earth does a company survive, let alone make billions, in a market that's so unpredictable? Well, to get inside how this business really works, we're going to zoom in on one of the big dogs, the Indonesian giant PT Indo Tambang Mega, or ITM for short. Right from the get-go, you can see their mission statement trying to walk this tightrope. Back in 2007, they said they wanted to be a leader in coal energy, but they also baked in this idea of sustainability and caring for the community and environment. That really sets the stage for the balancing act they're trying to pull off today. So what's their secret sauce? It's pretty clever, actually. It all comes down to controlling what you can and outsourcing the rest. They own their own ports, so they're not at the mercy of someone else's schedule. They use fancy financial tools to protect themselves from those wild price swings. And, this is the big one, they hire other companies to do most of the actual digging and hauling. That keeps their own costs down and lets them focus on what they do best, planning the mines, finding the coal, and selling it. And you can see how this plays out in the numbers. We're talking billions in revenue, over $2 billion in 2018. But, and this is key, look what happens when the market dips. In 2019, when coal prices fell, their revenue dropped by $300 million, and their profit got cut in half. That's the reality of this business, even for a giant. So one of the biggest line items for any mining company is something called stripping costs. And really, that's just a fancy term for a very expensive problem. You got to move a ton of dirt and rock, they call it overburden, just to get to the valuable coal underneath. Keeping that cost under control is everything if you want to make a profit. So we have this huge, efficient, incredibly profitable global machine. But all those numbers, all that profit on a spreadsheet, it only tells you one side of the story. And it makes you ask a really, really important question. Okay, so let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the ledger. These are the costs that don't show up in an annual report, the undeniable price tag for our environment and our health. See, when you burn coal, you're not just getting CO2. You're unleashing this whole chemical cocktail into the atmosphere. You've got sulfur dioxide, which leads to acid rain, nitrogen oxides, which cause smog and breathing problems. And then there's the really scary stuff, like mercury, which is a powerful nerve toxin, and arsenic, which we know causes cancer. All of it gets sent up the smokestack and into the world. Okay, get ready for this, because this fact is a real mind bender. According to Scientific American, the ash left over from a coal plant, they call it fly ash, can be up to 100 times more radioactive than the waste from a nuclear power plant. Now, how is that possible? Well, coal naturally has trace amounts of radioactive elements like uranium in it. When you burn millions of tons of coal, you concentrate all that radioactive material in the leftover ash. It's surprising, to say the least. And then, of course, we have the big one, carbon dioxide. The math here is simple, but the scale is just astronomical. For every single ton of coal you burn, about 1.7 tons of CO2 gets pumped into our atmosphere. Now multiply that by the millions of tons burned every single day, you can see pretty clearly why coal is the single biggest driver of the greenhouse gas emissions that are changing our climate. So that's the setup. And it brings us right to today, where coal is stuck in this massive global tug-of-war. It's an industry with this incredibly powerful past, now facing a future that is demanding some very, very big changes. And here's the core dilemma, the real push and pull. On one side, you have the new economic reality. Building a brand new solar or wind farm is now often cheaper than just keeping an old coal plant running. But on the other side, you've got developing countries all over Asia that still need massive amounts of cheap, reliable energy to grow. And for them, coal is still the go-to answer, with demand expected to last for decades. So what does a coal giant do when faced with this? Well, you can actually see the shift happening in their own corporate speak. By 2021, ITM's official strategy isn't just about coal anymore. They're talking about squeezing the last bits of value from coal while actively moving into renewable energy. The pivot is officially on. And this isn't just talk. They put their money where their mouth is. In 2020, ITM actually built and switched on a big solar power plant, complete with a battery system to store the energy. This was a real, concrete first step into a totally different energy business. And it wasn't a one-and-done project. It's speeding up. Their latest reports from 2024 say their green energy output has already more than doubled. This is clearly becoming a much bigger piece of their long-term strategy as they try to navigate this changing world. So what we're really watching here is a massive, incredible pivot happening in real time. Coal powered the last 200 years, but the future is going to be powered by something else. The question on your screen is the big one, not just for companies like ITM, but for all of us. Can this old, powerful giant learn new tricks fast enough to stay in the game? The race is on.